So again, welcome and thank you. My name's Mark Fothergill. I'm a resident of Norton. I'm a citizen of Norton, and I also support the Rescue the Ramp campaign. I'm also one of the signatories, one of the signees of the letter that was hand-delivered to Norton Town Council on the 25th of July, which was basically requesting this meeting. And it is a residents' meeting. It's not a town council meeting. It's for us, for you, to get your point of view across. So what brought us to this was that on the 19th of July, Norton Town Council voted not to support phase 2 of the Rescue the Ramp campaign. So under our rights, we've requested this meeting, and like I've said already, it's for you to get your concerns across as citizens of Norton. Now, I would ask that everybody's respectful, that everybody listens to the speakers, that everybody listens to each other, and that we all respect each other. On that note, I'd like to introduce our chair tonight, which is Councillor Anne Spencer. So I'd also ask that you respect the chair. And likewise, I would ask that as chair, you respect the residents of Norton, their concerns, their views, and you give everybody a chance to speak tonight. You know, we're not councillors. I'm a resident. I'm not used to being sat here or public speaking. So if you could just respect everybody's.
Of course, yes.
Thank you. Right, I'll hand you over to the chair for tonight, Councillor Anne Spencer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Before we commence the meeting, I would like to move a motion, and that is a vote of congratulations as follows. We, the councillors and people of Norton-on-Derwent, congratulate Miss Sky Brown on her wonderful achievement in the Olympics, being the youngest Briton to be bringing home a medal. This time a bronze, maybe next time a gold. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Is anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Then the motion is carried. I now have a statement from the Fitzwilliam Malton estate. This had an embargo on the release of it till this evening at 1900 hours. The Fitzwilliam Malton estate owns an area of land at Norton Road, which includes the skate park. The estate were instrumental in the creation of the skate park, securing a surrender from the previous occupier and providing the land on a short-term lease to Rydale District Council in 2004. At that time, the estate made it immediately clear that we were unable to grant a long lease and, in our opinion, has remained the same, constant. The existing site was always intended as a temporary situation, but the lease has been renewed several times and the skate park has remained on the site, initially overseen and managed by Rydale District Council and more recently by Norton-on-Derwent Town Council for a period that now spans 17 years. We are supportive of the work which has been undertaken to improve the half-pipe and make it safer. And without the support of an external sponsor and volunteers, this may not have been possible. There are currently no formal or immediate plans for the redevelopment of the skate park site. As per the Rydale District Council call for sites, the site is part of a parcel of land submitted as a potential area that could be suitable for redevelopment in the future. And any such development will also be subject to achieving approval by the statutory planning process. But there is no intended scheme and any future use of the land is unknown. In the meantime, the existing lease has expired, but the estate has agreed the terms with Norton-on-Derwent Town Council for a further 3-year lease, which will run until 2024. Right, Mark. Do you want to continue?
I think it's up to you to introduce the speakers if you will.
So, Yes, we have our first speaker, who I believe is the leader of the campaign, Ryan.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. Give yourself a cheer and a round of applause. I think it's, Now, I'm normally good at speaking publicly, but I don't want to get any of this information wrong, so please excuse me if I read off the paper. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Ryan, and I'm the founder of the Rescue the Ramp campaign and user of the skate park since 2002. The campaign has been ongoing since the beginning of March. Sadly, with still nothing resolved, only constant meetings, in-house bickering between councillors, and many attempts to quieten me and stop me relaying public information, and a total lack of transparency on the council's behalf. I started this campaign in 2021 March, as I was informed that Norton Town Council were planning on dismantling and disposing of the iconic halfpipe without public knowledge. This rare ramp has been sat in a state of disrepair since 2018, untouched and unattended. At some point, without safety fencing to stop the public from using it, the community, including myself, were under the impression that the halfpipe was going to be fixed and refurbished at the same time as the other ramps, but sadly, this wasn't the case. Rescue the Ramp is all about preserving, protecting and renovating this iconic, rare piece of sporting equipment, which was an asset not only to Norton and Malton, but the whole of the region. It is the only free-to-use outdoor halfpipe in the whole of North of England, and is only one of 10 left in the whole of the United Kingdom. This ramp could bring riders and tourists from the action sports community from near and far. It has the potential to be a major attraction to the area. It could also be used as a training hub to train future athletes in major world competitions, including the Olympic Games. Now, 6 months later, after relentless campaigning, attending council meetings, raising public awareness and investigating the facts, and most of all, getting national recognition from the sporting world from professionals like Tony Hawk, Bucky Lazark and Danny Way, and most recently, a message directly from the Tokyo Olympic Games urging for this amazing piece of sporting equipment to be saved. In May, Norton Town Council voted yes to Phase 1 of Rescue the Ramp. They allowed myself, James Lindenberg and volunteers from the Malton and Norton Lions and the MNAP, which stands for Malton and Norton Area Partnership, to start stripping the halfpipe completely of its rotting, decaying wood, removing the unsafe screws, bolts, rivets and sharp edges. We also cleared and removed at least 20 years of rubbish that had been underneath the ramp. We even had to pay for the safety fencing around the ramp, as well as our own insurance to make it safe. The public were not allowed to enter the skate park whilst work was in progress for health and safety reasons. We paid for our own insurance, safety goggles, gloves and protective gear with the Rescue the Ramp crowdfunding money which we raised online. Once Phase 1 had been completed, we had to go back to the council regarding a vote for passing of Phase 2. This could have been so simple. Phase 2 basically is sanding the frame, applying hammerite paint for future weatherproofing, then using the funding I had raised to bring to professional ramp builders, A1 Ramps, to complete the job of resurfacing the ramp. In the last 6 months, many people and businesses, locally and nationally, have offered their time, support, labour, advice and expertise, totally free of charge, to make this project happen. I even secured 2 major sponsorship deals. The first deal was lost due to the council's lack of urgency and dilly-dallying. The second sponsorship was a large London company who I can't name for security reasons. They actually had seen my campaign on social media, and they came to me with a deal offering £15,000. Their PR lady even came up from London on the day of the council vote to give a full presentation, which is disclosed at the side of me and I'll run through soon. But the council voted a big no, which in my opinion is an abysmal decision. Funding was right there on the table, ready to go. In the beginning of the campaign, Malton Town Council were involved with joint funding and responsibilities of the Malton and Norton skate park. but later backed out, leaving all the decisions and responsibility to Norton. I believe Moulton had plans to build a rival skate park within the Rainbow Lane play facilities. I asked them, how could you propose to build a new skate park when you can't look after the ones that you've already got? These so-called plans are still pending, and I don't believe that they will happen anytime soon, due to every one of them distorting the so-called facts. Every question I asked at the first meeting was belittled, ridiculed, and could not be answered. Each councillor massively contradicted each other. In their freedom of information, which our campaigners requested, I found out I had been belittled, my intelligence insulted and questioned, and I needed to be silenced. They wanted me to shut up from the start. Still, after all the ridicule, underhandness, and total lack of transparency, I'm still sat here tonight. Now today, with all of you, all we want is a simple answer, yes or no. Can we rescue the ramp? And is the Fitzwilliam estate going to give us a longer lease? No ifs, buts or maybes, just the same plain and simple truth. I'll finish with an address to Norton Town Council in the words of Paddy McGuinness on ITV's Take Me Out, in style, don't forget, no clarification, you'll get misinformation. Thank you.
Our second speaker is Councillor Martin Brampton.
Right. Thank you. As this project was getting off the ground, it seemed to be running into some difficulties through the issues that arise in council discussions and the limitations of the time and effort that a council can put into any one issue. At that point, it was suggested that this might become an MNAP project, the Moulton and Norton Area Partnership, which is a community organisation which was set up a number of years ago to look at projects that span the two towns and the surrounding area. It's done a variety of projects in its lifetime. One of the more recent ones is the renovation of the boardwalk in Lady Spring Wood. Other things have also been done recently. I thought this was a very exciting project, and I hoped that we would be able to contribute something by providing a constructive resting place for the project to help things to go forward in an effective way. This is what initially happened. The motion was, as it's been mentioned, passed in May at Norton Town Council, proposed by Keel, who's over here, that the project should be passed to MNAP in order to try to progress it. So that was taken to a meeting of the MNAP committee, who agreed that this was a project that we would be willing to sponsor and to be involved with, and we appointed a project team to carry things forward. That led to the fact that we took up the suggestion from Norton Town Council, the motion passed by Keel, proposed by Keel and passed by the council, to carry out the initial work, which has been described by Ryan, where the old wood was stripped off and the structure underneath was inspected to see what further work needs to be done there. There is further work to be done to clean it up. Some repairs are required. The people who've been doing this work are all local people, all people with a lot of skills. There are companies, as you may well know, in the area who are involved in steel fabrication, and so there's plenty of expertise has been available. The project has had numerous volunteers offering their help. So not only is it an exciting project from the point of view of the young people who are interested in using the skate park and enthusiastic about restoring the half pipe, it's also an exciting project in the extent of the support that's been received from the community and the enthusiasm there. That, unfortunately, then took us to the point where we put forward a plan for the remainder of the project. So the wood's gone, the framework needs to be cleaned up and painted, and then new timber put on the top. We thought that was a relatively straightforward decision to be made, especially given that it was put forward at no cost to the Town Council and no cost to MNAP, that money was forthcoming elsewhere. So this seemed like a highly attractive proposition. Unfortunately, it was turned down, and a lot of the discussion was about health and safety. Now, as Ryan indicated, we've been very, very conscious of health and safety and gone to great pains to make sure that the work was done safely, and that suitable expertise was applied, that people who know about working at height, people who actually work in jobs that involve working at height, were involved to make sure that they supervised and that they gave instruction to other people who might be less familiar with working at a height. But it goes well beyond that. We're very anxious that the project should actually engage with the users much more closely and get them involved in everything that's going on. And looking at the advice on skate park safety from ROSPA, the Royal Society for Prevention of Accidents, their very first item in their list is you should involve the users in the development and management of the facility. And that, I think, is one thing that has been happening with this project. Ryan is very committed to involving all of the people who use the skate park and anybody else who's interested in it, and keeping the community informed and involved. So that is one of the key ways in order to achieve health and safety. The team are also very keen on the future potential for things like training sessions, advice sessions, competitions, all things that are designed to enhance people's skills and also to enhance their safety. I think these kind of active approaches are the ones that are most likely to succeed, encouraging people to do things like wearing safety equipment when they're on the skate park, more so than simply putting up notices which are just seen as just officialdom and not necessarily easily taken notice of by young people. When it comes to the general health and safety issues and the question of the liability of Norton councillors, I'd really like to draw your attention to the document provided by the Health and Safety Executive. They are the government body who are responsible for the overseeing of health and safety. They're the people who, in serious cases of bad practice, will actually prosecute people under health and safety legislation. But I think it's very important to put all that in context. So this is from their advice, from the Health and Safety Executive. They say play is great. When planning and providing play opportunities, the goal is not to eliminate risk, but to weigh up the risks and benefits. No child will learn about risk if they're wrapped in cotton wool. In another section, they say, understanding that the purpose of risk control is not the elimination of all risk, and so accepting the possibility of even serious injuries cannot be eliminated, though it should be managed. And then a key message, this is their words, key message. Accidents and mistakes happen during play, but fear of litigation and prosecution has been blown out of all proportion. And finally, the Health and Safety Executives say, provided sensible and proportionate steps have been taken, it's highly unlikely there would be any breach of health and safety law involved, or that it would be in the public interest to bring a prosecution. I've also sought legal advice, not formally but informally. The legal advice is that councillors would only ever be individually liable if they had acted unlawfully. And that in this particular instance, provided there was an insurance policy in place that covered the equipment, and provided there'd been a ROSPA inspection that gave the skate park a clean bill of health, then the council would quite clearly have acted lawfully and would be protected from any personal liability. So I really hope that this information, which is coming from authoritative sources, will give some comfort to Norton councillors that they are not at risk, that they can provide these sort of facilities. There are other equally large skate parks around the country provided by local councils with no supervision any more than there is supervision here. And those are operating normally, safely, with no untoward consequences. There is in fact no record of any litigation in respect of skate park accidents, and certainly no prosecutions. There's never been a death on a skate park. There have been deaths of skateboarders, but they have all been associated with road traffic accidents. So a big risk would have been somebody running off the skate park into the road and being run down. So I really would like to encourage Norton councillors to really think carefully about this. That clearly risk is never going to be eliminated, but neither are they expected to achieve that. That is asking the impossible. It is accepted by the authorities that that is the case, that risk is inevitable, risk has to be accepted as part of life, and we have to be constructive about the way we use it. So I urge people to be positive about this and to look for a solution. I think there are a few other practical issues, but I don't really want to go into those, simply because I'm quite confident with constructive discussion they could all be overcome. So I'm asking for a positive approach to this, a way to find a solution, and to provide a valuable facility for this area and for people further afield too. Thank you very much.
Does anyone in the community want to speak about it now? Yes, yes.
My name is Stephen Richmond, and I used to work for Rydale District Council. And one of my jobs, was handed to me, was to look after the skate park. In those days, we used to have a sports development officer, and Ryan would probably remember the meetings and everything they had. First of all, I'd like to apologise for the fact I've not actually followed the ins and outs of this debate, but when I read it in the paper tonight, I thought I really should kind of come and just be able to give people a bit of a background for the old days. Now, that park was actually set up with the strong involvement of the police and one particular policeman. And the reason is because the antisocial behaviour around the towns was getting out of hand. When the skateboard park was developed, the antisocial behaviour in the towns didn't just drop, it plummeted. It really is, as far as I'm aware now, the only thing in either of the towns for the actual youth to do. There's plenty for infants and everything, in playgrounds and everything, but when you move beyond that, the skateboard park is the only place that can meet with a reduction in youth clubs and things like that. There's nothing, and frankly, can't believe that we're having to stand here having a debate about the renewal of a hand. I want to hear what Ryan said about getting sponsorship for this, because that was going to be one of the suggestions. And what is blocking this? What is actually Norton Town Council? What are they bothered? Why can I not see this? You've got developer contributions from all the housing that's gone on, so the money must be there. You've got another 600 big in the future. You've got another 600 houses potentially coming up as well. Where are they going to go? Where are the youth going to go? I'm frankly appalled. If it's a question of people thinking about liability, I can only confirm what Mr. Brampton said is absolutely correct. People will not have personal liability for it at all. You'd only have personal liability if you were grossly negligent. And then it wouldn't be personal, it would be the actual council itself. I would thoroughly urge Norton County Council to think of the future, think of Norton, think of the youth. Thank you.
Stephen Shaw. Very interesting listening to the discussion that's gone on so far. At the Norton Town Council meeting, was the issue health and safety, or was it cost, or was it both? That's a simple question.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'll give it a go. Right. I'm Rob, okay? Yeah, sorry.
Can I just reply to Mr. Shaw? I'm not here to answer your questions this evening, I'm here to listen.
That actually defeats the whole purpose of the meeting. We're trying to get down to the issue as to why Norton Town Council refused that second stage. If we aren't going in a position to get any answers, then really that puts this meeting at risk, and it also puts the issue of Norton Town Council's responsibility towards it as a serious question. So if there is nobody here who can answer that question, then where are we going to go?
The question will be answered at a full council meeting by all councillors being present.
Would the councillors like to comment?
Any councillors like to
They're not all here this evening.
Would any of the councillors present like to comment or answer that question tonight? At a public meeting, a residents' meeting. It's not a council meeting, just would you like, anybody like to?
Go down.
The question of money was not an issue, because as Ryan's already said this evening, the sponsorship in place to do that work. It's all in place, and the presentation that I hope Ryan's going to show later on explain that to the council meeting, that the money is in place. And so Norton Town Council basically just looked a gift horse in the mouth and thumped it, because there was no request for money. In terms of health and safety, this has been an ongoing debate, backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. I think as Councillor Brampton's explained, all the objections that have been raised by certain members of the council, we have responded to. We have looked at all the appropriate paperwork, the Health and Safety Executive, the WASPA reports, which the Town Council commissioned itself. We've looked at all that detail, and we can respond to every single issue. And I think there's been a lot of what I can only describe as scaremongering to frighten some councillors against this project, which I have to agree is quite shameful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Right, I'm Rob, I'm a bit messed up in the head, right? So basically, when I was a kid, I had one of these on the streets, right? Messing about with dogs that foamed at the mouth, red eyes and so on, because I weren't that clever at school reading and writing. And then after that, I kind of joined the army and working with dogs on the front line. So yeah, I ended up with PTSD. And when I was homeless for 8.5 months, I got one of these back out. I'm age 40 now. And if you want to educate kids, it sort of teaches you, you're an art teacher, weren't you? Right? So this brings out your science bit of how geometry works, of how to kick flip it. It also gives you mindfulness of just being there. I dislocated my shoulder not that long ago, not because of the skate park. It was because a plane flew over. I thought bombs were going to happen again. I hit the deck and came off one of these. That's the only accident I've really had on one of these. It frightens me how much advertising we're getting for the health and safety thing, no blame, no claim. I mean, if the kids aren't going to be in the skate park, maybe they might start going for your money. But at the end of the day, I want to thank you so much for listening to us, because it's a lot of your time. As you said, you're volunteers. No, you're not volunteers, you are legal representations. Yeah, you pretty much asked for this role. So it's with that where you've got the antisocial behaviour. I'm antisocial. I hate people, that's why I play dogs. Do you know what I mean? I understand them. If you're going to get bit once, you're going to get bit twice. You go to the kennel hand. So I've spoken to, I've had enough being, like, us lot just being slapped in the face, yes, no, no, yes, you don't have to come or going, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, I spoke to the sports minister, so I've gone a little bit higher, so that's little talks going on, which I'll pass on to yourself, Di. the behaviour of, I mean, look at this little beauty, yeah? This little kid watching, sorry mate, pick on you, but he's watching other people's behaviour of how, you know, I'm glad you guys aren't speaking tonight because I don't want you to see it, do you know what I mean, right? But there was a couple of things that were said. I waited behind with you for 2.5 hours until we shut the doors and turned the lights off the other week, right? And it was, the reason why, I said I don't want to open up the baby. Yeah, you put the hammer down, that's it. So I just asked for emails and stuff like that, right? But when it came down to it, I spoke to one gentleman, and he's not here. You waited till the end, you were quite rude. But when it came to the part of you had a motion in this very room, and you put your hands up, and then it got turned down, and then somebody else, I can't remember who, but it got repeated by somebody else exactly the same, because female, I don't know. But, and then all blokes put their hand up in the air, and then there was this other, so I've taken like sexist remarks and things what got taken with, maybe you should go back from England and all that lot. Skate park didn't come from Alton Towers as a ride, as you're well drafted, sat on, cooked, oven ready, as they say with Boris Johnson, right? But it didn't come from Alton Towers as a ride. I want to get that in your head, right? It wasn't a ride. It was Team Extreme, okay? I worked on it with Zoe Ball, Chris Hagawudgi, yeah, for Record Breakers. If you have a look at the Omniac of Alton Towers, it was never a ride. So it wasn't down to their health and safety and all the rest of it, yeah? So it doesn't belong in Flamingo Land to pay 40 quid or whatever to get in and just use that. So please. Yeah, thank you, right? But please get that out of your head, or the poison what it's hearing. We've got to look after our new wood, what's going on it, if we get it, plus the old wood, yeah? But with that, it's this little chick, look at her, yeah? She's just won a bronze medal. I get that you don't understand skateboarding, and I love what you said with the antisocial behaviour and it plummeted. Doesn't mean all skateboarders and BMXers are antisocial, right? But if that works, why not promote it a little bit? Why not look after each other? So I forgive you, all right? I forgive you for taking it on the way you sort of took it, and it all getting a bit heated. And I know in numbers against you lot, and I get it where things rise and the pressure cooker boils and so on. But I forgive you guys for getting a lot of the facts wrong, right? Hearing it from when it got donated from Record Breakers all the way through. Oh man, you know, if you can break records on it, we're winning gold medals, and you're promoting blame and claim if it's going to be a cafe, skateboarders fall off it and get some money. You know, I just kind of want you all to get together, and I don't want to know what's wrong. I don't want to know what's right. I just want you to sit, just for a minute. The future generations after I'm gone, yeah, in your heart, how does that feel when you're a kid and you're on there and you're sort of like, yeah, I can go, I've got somewhere to go, I've got somewhere to belong, I fall over, another skateboarder picks me up. Why not just sit, just for that minute, with that little feeling in your heart of what you can give? Or what you can give. It ain't about me and my messed up head, yeah, or antisocial and all the rest of it. I don't care what I've done for my country anymore. Because when you come home, you can build a school with a rack for a table with 3 little books on it, and they can vote and they can get to school. And then you come home and you can't even do something for these little guys. Do you know what I mean? Or the old ones. You know? So thank you for your ears. Thank you for opening your heart just for that minute. Yeah? And if I said there's anything out, then yeah, whatever. All right.
Did anyone else want to speak?
I'll go again.
The lady here.
I don't know how I can really follow that, but I'm the complete opposite because I've never skated in my life. I've never tried to go on a skateboard. I daren't. I have no balance. I couldn't even do roller skating, discos. No. Thank you, but no. I like my bones intact. I know what would happen if I went on one of those things. But I can't understand why anybody would not want this half pipe. Like, if it was so dangerous, then why was it even put there to start with? Yeah. If it was that dangerous, the main issue that has been with the health and safety of it is the risk of people climbing up it because it's not cladded in at the sides. This money was going to do it all properly so that it was cladded in. And it was discussed at the meetings that the only way to get up to the top of the half pipe, I didn't know nothing about any of this because I do not know skating at all. I just love where I live, I love my town, and I want my kids to have that for their future. Yeah. You know, I don't want somebody to turn around and tell my daughter that she can't be that girl because they don't want us to have the equipment for my daughter to be able to be that girl one day. You know, it's not just the skaters. It's not just for the... Did any of those counsellors, when they were teenagers, not do something stupid? Who here did not do something stupid when they were a teenager?
Me.
Anybody else, apart from the obvious, did you not ever do something stupid as a teenager? Right? I used to climb on roofs, because I used to love climbing. I'd climb anything. And not even my friends knew that, because I used to just disappear and go climbing stuff. And I fell off it quite often as well, because I weren't that good. But that's why I don't do it now. But there's so many other things that kids could do and be destructive. Yeah. You know, you look at teenagers that go drinking in the orchard fields and things like that. That's been every generation. Every generation's done that. Mine did. My friends, my kids probably will when they're older, you know. But we want them to put their energy into things that are more productive. As a town, we want our kids to do things that are more productive instead of throwing their lives away. And every time I go past that skate park, I have a beaming smile on my face, watching all those kids happily playing, and the older ones looking after the younger ones. And I can't wait, my babies are only 4 right now, they can't even ride their little rubbish scooters. Like, my son's disabled. He tries to ride his scooter, and as soon as he gets it, I will be taking him to that skate park, because I know he'd be safe and I know he'd be looked after by the people who know what they're doing.
Stephen Shaw, once more. In my past, I've been on the other side. I've been district councillor, I've been county councillor, I've been a town councillor. I know how difficult it is to make decisions at council meetings. And I know the pressures that come onto people either financially or historically or health and safety wise. I've been there, I've done it. But my observations over the past few years have been quite simple. It's very easy to be negative in making decisions. It's very easy to say no because it's the easy option. The more difficult option is to say yes, be progressive and move forward because that takes effort. I've come across a number of people as a councillor who I've seen, witnessed and been absolutely in awe of because of the way that they've approached it. John Blackie at North Yorkshire County Council from Wensleydale was a star at it. He would never take no for an answer. He found ways of doing things within his community to make things work. And I've seen the same with Daikeel, who rescued this place. They take an attitude that is totally different. They take an attitude that is positive and an attitude that will make progress and move things forward. And my fear is that Norton Town Council have taken a negative attitude because it's the easy option. And I've not had an answer to the question as to why, but I'm afraid that's what comes up.
Someone at the back.
So, gentleman with the blue shirt who's been indicated. Sorry, which one?
Sorry,
Right,
James
I can
Jones.
see your hand.
Not a resident of Malmö, not anymore. I live over at Scarborough, but I grew up at the skate park. Just a few things that have come to my mind whilst I've been sat here listening to this and everything that's gone on over the past few months with Ryan and all the projects that have been going on here. One, that half pipe is inspirational. Not every person who goes to that skate park can ride that half pipe. But what happens every now and again, and unfortunately probably you lads in your skates probably haven't seen this because it's been shut down for however long, but every now and again someone will turn up in a van, they'll grab the board or the bike out, they will go to the top of the ramp, they will drop it, they will flip it, they will do a crazy trick on it. And that inspires the rest of the people in that park to think, you know what, if I work, I can do that. And that kept the kids coming down every weekend to that park to ride those ramps and get to the point where they can drop that pipe. That was the top goal for all my friends and all the people around me, these lads here. That's what you wanted to do when you were at that park. The second point that I pick up from this is that it is a complete and utter failure of democracy in this small town. I sit here looking at the councillors, all of them, no offence, respectful, 60 plus, 70 plus, and it seems to me that the only interest they have in their hearts is their own interests. So I implore you boys, you young lads here, next time there is a meeting coming up, Next time there are elections coming up, put yourself forward for it. Because it's not these guys turn up to meetings and just say no unless it lines their pockets, or it pleases a Fitzwilliam mistake, or they can write about it in the Gazette. And I apologise, Di, because I know you're one of the good guys that wants to look forward to the same pocket. But failure of local democracy. Things have fallen down the wayside. People don't know how to get things sorted. People don't know the right ways to go about things. So I implore all of you, when the next elections come around, stand for them. Put yourself forward. And in that case, you can get your mates to vote for you. Because I bet in the local Norton Town Council, there was only about 2,000 or 3,000 votes, I'm guessing. That's just a number I put down at the top of my head. Swainers has got more followers than that on Facebook. Get these people out of their seats because they do not know what they are doing in those seats.
Precisely.
Hi, some of you guys might know me. I'm 59 years old. My husband and I have lived and worked and given our hearts and souls to these two towns for 23 years. I somehow got involved in this campaign because last year during lockdown, well, first of all, I'd like to say I've got possible PTSD, not working for an army, but working for a council. I will not say what council that is, but you might know, okay? And it's not about Bible bashing. Bible bashing, where did that come from? Jeez! It's not about bashing each other, insulting each other. It's not even about age, because I'm 59 and I'm young-minded. I gravitate towards young people. No, young-minded people, young fresh people. But if you don't want, or you're not interested in the skate park, that's fine. It's not about that. It's about supporting people and encouraging us. And why am I getting a microphone? Well, because I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah, I gravitated towards that skate park because my biggest fear at lockdown was that I was going to have another breakdown, because I had a breakdown, and it was a bad breakdown. And I am labelled here as the crazy woman that had a breakdown and got sectioned. Oh, and now it's a crazy 59-year-old woman trying to learn how to skateboard. Now, I have not had the nerve to go on one of those things because they get away with you. They really do. And they are scary, and it's not a safe thing to do. But what? Are we going to close down the swimming pool because you might drown in there, because a child might drown? Do you know what I mean? Let's all just close the roads around here, actually. Yeah, because you can get knocked down by a car. But I have actually said and put some stuff on social media that I actually, when I think about now, you know what? That wasn't very nice in regards to this. And I spent 14 years working for the council, and the childish, and I actually think that's an insult to say childish, because I spoke to young people down at that skate park that were more grown up, that had more sense about them than us adults. Yeah. And it's the bickering, and it's still that Malton Norton thing. What is that all about, guys? I'm not from here. What is that all about? Why is Malton pulled out? Why did Norton change their minds? Like, they actually were supporting this, so, I don't know. You know, is there anybody here from Fitzwilliam? They give us a statement. Get yourself down here, you know, and be present, and, yeah, have your say. It is hard. It is a hard job to be a councillor. Ask Di. You know, yeah. But I actually believe that the skate park saved me from having another breakdown, you know. But then sadly I've been ridiculed, and I've actually been called a paedophile for hanging out at the skate park. I don't hang out at the skate park. I actually use it. It's not just a young people's skate park, by the way. You know, it's not a playground. You know, it's somewhere where you can just get away and you could do your thing. but I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do a thing on a skateboard. They're scary things. I have been on my mountain bike, but I have not done stuff, and I don't go down there because of the name calling and the it's actually, you would not believe the names that I've been called. And I know Ryan's had it, and I know perhaps on the other side, you know, there has been name calling. But when are we ever going to stop it? You know what I mean? And these two towns come together. They're actually one town, by the way. We are one town. It just happens to have a couple of bridges between us.
I'd just like to say, we're all getting molten stuff down our throats as being the food capital of the North. Why can you not get little lads like this, known as warriors of Norton, because they've done something and achieved something? They need people to show that they can achieve something. Ryan's done it for years. Let these little ones have a go.
Hi, I'm Oscar, and recently I've been going to the skate park quite a lot, and I've been going here for years. And the first time I went there, I was petrified to go down the smallest ramp there is, and I spent ages at the top thinking I can't do this. And my brother, he'd been skating before me, he just went down it with ease, so I thought, oh, maybe I could do that, so I did. I went down. Then every time I went to the skate park after that, for a few years, I just another ramp. And even then, it just took me the whole time we were there just to get the courage to actually go down it. And I've recently learned that that was possibly the one thing I've done, because just recently, maybe a week ago, a few days ago, I went to the only ramp I haven't been down, and instead of standing up there just for ages, thinking, can I do this? I just shook it all out of my head, went down. It was scary, I have to admit, but I did it. And then I've seen people go down the half pipe, and it's amazing how they do it. I'm not sure I could, to be honest. And then that's why I've been trying to get a higher ramp every single time, just so on one day I might be able to go down my half pipe.
I work for the health service, and I work with children and families. And two of the key top priorities of two of the top things that have been led by the government and the NHS are in childhood obesity and mental health and childhood resilience. And this skate park will tick so many boxes for that. We've already heard people talking about mental health and how it improves the mental health. Getting children out there skateboarding will help with childhood obesity. There's key messages, and I can't understand why it's getting blocked. You know, it needs rising, and that half pipe needs to be repaired.
I was really well impressed with that young man, and I think the councillors who have voted against the skate park getting fixed will regret it, and they deserve to regret it, because don't forget there's another election coming, and I can't see how the five that voted against it will get any supporters, because personally I will do my utmost to get people to vote for someone else.
Right, my name's Gareth, everyone. Not gonna lie, I'm 19 years of age yet. I speak for the younger generation. I've been riding the skate park. Yeah, well. Are you all asleep? Smoking, you know, right.
Turn my mute switch.
Oh.
Yeah, the bottom.
All right.
Just shout.
Right. Anyway, I speak for the younger generation. I've been riding this skate park for what, 12 years now. So basically, when I first started riding it, it was all wood, perfect, absolutely perfect. We had a spine, perfectly working out pipe. all the panels were all good. And then all of a sudden, about not even 6 years later, probably even 4, all the ramps started falling apart, and then next thing you know, half pipe was all, just demolished and whatnot. About 5 years later, skate park's still as it is, basically, and then next thing you know, all decided to go metal. Why? What was the need to change? What was the need to change it to metal, for starters? Because at the end of the day, you probably would have had a lot more people there when it's wood, and especially when the half pipe was working, because bearing in mind you've got people like Luke that can flare it, you've got people like Ryan Carpenter that, and back in the day when Ryan Swain used to hold the BMX like competitions there, that used to be a big attraction, especially for us younger lads. So I don't see why we couldn't possibly put something like that together to get the community back together to possibly, keep the skate park running. There we are.
Could I just come in on Luke's question there regarding the rest of the skate park? The fellow councillors, which, to be honest, names have been called and things have been said. However, I'm willing to make a truce as the unity of the community. That rhymes, man. I should be a poet and I don't know it. But seriously, unity of a community is good because not only does it set a good example for the younger generation, it binds people together and in camaraderie, which is a very important word. And if you look at the Olympics, how Olympians and professional athletes compete, they come together with camaraderie and respect. It's a shame that the council and us can't come together in respect to make this work. And what's your name, sir? Sorry? Steve. As Steve rightly put, a challenge is far harder to accomplish than easily just saying no. So why go for the easy option when you could achieve something so much more at the end of it? And in respect to Luke's question, yes, the ramps at the moment are being relaid in metal. Now, we're all quick to judge the half pipe for being a health and safety hazard. However, if anybody has been to the skate park recently, they will notice that the ramps are extremely dangerous. They're being relayed in metal and over the top in razor-sharp mesh, and then spray painted, so it's a slippery surface. If you were to fall on that ramp, on any ramp at the skate park currently which have been relayed in metal, not only will you get a nasty graze, it will strip you to the bone like a cheese grater, especially in the summer weather when it's hot. So my question is, the half pipe currently as it has been, which has been left to rot and ruin for the past 4 years, yes, it has been a potential safety hazard. However, we have come along with funding options and solutions on the table to make that back up to its former glory days a really safe facility and piece of apparatus to use. And it could be the safest piece of apparatus in the whole skate park. So really my question is, why are we getting rejected on health and safety when the rest of the skate park is a way worse health and safety hazard? Thank you.
You're going to move on now, Mark?
Yeah, we'll move on to item. I got some more questions, yeah? Lovely.
Go first. I'm Matthew. I've lived and worked in Malton North for quite a while now. I think I'll probably start by saying that I think the most important thing for everyone is to communicate.
Agree.
I didn't get a chance to go to the first meeting, but I went to the second meeting, and so I don't know what went on before, but there was a lot of animosity there, and unnecessarily, I think. And I think for everyone in the room, the way that various generations have conducted themselves, it's a bit of an exemplar for the town council meeting that I attended anyway. As I say, I've only attended one, so I can't say for any future ones, but it's within walking distance of me now, so I can easily go. I think, again, rather than, and there's, for every good reason, for very good reason to say that there's a fair bit of animosity between various parties, but I'd just ask everyone just to rise above it, really. We've already seen people do that on one side, but I think if you could just maybe, I know you have to reconvene probably, talk amongst yourselves, but at the end of the day, we're representing a community. The community, especially with all the efforts from Ryan and everyone else involved, have made their thoughts and feelings known. And it's not about a particular age group, so it's not just children, Sky Brown. I mean, I think about it and my children. It's about adults as well. God, I think about that as well, because my parents moved house and, and found my old skates. So I've got my old blades, so it's like, all right, well, do I crack those out? Well, I sold my my helmet and my pads, so given that I'm pretty rusty, a few decades. But again, it's not just the community, it's, you know, it's a wider community. So we've not really touched on it much tonight at all, but you're talking about an Olympic sport here. We've got at least another 3 years, so we're on to the next Olympics. We could have athletes of whatever age, whatever generation. They could be 50, could be 59, they could be 30. They could be from Morton and Norton. They could have come from Newcastle to ride the skate, you know, the skate park and the half pipe. Because when I was young, and I did it for quite a few years, our parents used to alternate in terms of who played taxi for us to travel and pay. So not free, pay to go to an indoor skate park. And similar to what the gentleman was saying earlier, we used to, well, and a bit like you were saying, whilst you're right at the start, stick with it. It sounds like you're doing a cracking job already. But, you know, we were apprehensive, and you work your way up. You've got your own little community there as well, because everyone bands around and look after one another. Whether it's someone that's in their 60s, that's been doing it for decades, or whether it's someone that's just started, like Sky Brown, has absolutely zero fear, and will just do whatever. It took me months to build up to get in. Well, I couldn't even physically get to the top of the half pipe. The first time I got on a quarter pipe, it was the same height, and nose dived, and there was a metal plate at the bottom.
Yeah.
Ripped all the skin off my nose. It didn't stop me, it just kept going, like when I fell off the back of wood. And as soon as I did that, there were so many people around me, keeping an eye on me, and there's that, again, that sense of community. And I could go on forever in a day, but I just think this is the start in terms of, as a community, and the things that we can do together to provide more facilities for everyone and to represent everybody. And that doesn't mean just having youthful representatives. It means having representatives of all ages, or even if there are people that sit on the various councils that are of a certain age, as long as they're hearing everyone's opinions, taking those on board, and this is where I come back, so I'll finish on communication. It's important for us all just to communicate. And I get that it gets emotive. I get that people are passionate about things, and everyone has different ways of communicating. People have good days, bad days, good years, bad years. But if we all just talk and work together, I think we can achieve a lot. So all you have to do is look at what volunteers, and I appreciate that you're also volunteers, have achieved. And I'm not saying that you've not achieved anything in all the time that you've been in council, but I haven't read up, so I only know recent events, current events. The zero cost is the will of the community behind it. It's something that I think we can achieve together, and it's one where, as I say, at the last meeting, I didn't see anything that was insurmountable. That's been reiterated tonight, so I think we can do it together, basically.
One second.
Thank you. I'm Judith Jones, and I actually signed the letter. And picking up on your point, it was the last meeting was the first meeting of Norton Town Council that I'd attended, although I've lived in Norton and Morton all my life. I was very disappointed with the decision because I thought the decision was made on evidence that was light, to say the least. And again, picking up on David's point, I think sometimes it's easy to say no, but we should be looking at why we should say yes. Because, as others have said today, there's precious little for young people to do in this town, and we actually should give people that opportunity, and they deserve it. So I think when the town council are making their decision next, there is only one question to ask, and the question is, why not? And based on the fact that other local authorities provide a half pipe, they provide it free of cost, if they can do it, why can't we? And I think it's a very simple question. that needs to be answered, because I can't see why we can't do it.
Thank you very much. Peter Clark, a local resident. My question is really procedural because I think the argument is won. And this is a question to councillors, what is required for the council to revisit this decision? And I say revisit, not to vote in favour. What is required that they would actually sit again and re-examine the case that they rejected?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I did wonder whether the Mayor would like to answer that.
I'm quite happy. I'm not here to answer questions.
So
it is a procedural question.
Yeah.
It's not that technical.
Ask the gentleman.
No, so basically the campaign group will put a proposal together. I think we've seen tonight the level of support, which has been absolutely fantastic. We will put a proposal together which can go back to the next town council. We will no doubt be told that there is a rule that will stop us doing that, but that is not a definitive rule, and if we have the will within the council to do that, we can take it back, and I hope the next time the town council will make the right decision.
Can I just ask Di a question? Whilst all this is going on, the timescale, what timescale will it take to get it back in?
That's a very good question.
Because they've extended it for 3 years, and all this time, so that 3 years is going down to 2, 1, and then it's over.
Yeah. I think Ryan might be in a better position to answer.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to put this out there publicly tonight, because obviously £15,000 plus extra money as well. We're talking other thousands of pounds coming on board, so best part of 25 grand in ongoing maintenance after the 15,000 had been put into the funds basically to repair the ramp. That would have been there. And we could have had this project done and dusted. We had it all teed up and ready to go, and it could have been done realistically by the end of September. Unfortunately, I'm going to run you through the presentation in just a few moments. Hopefully I'll get the opportunity to do that tonight, because I think it's very important that the public get to know about that. The £15,000 is, I'm not going to say for definite, but it's possibly, it's looking at least likely to be there now, because we've come to this, you know. This could have happened. We had Christina here, a fantastic lady from In Chief Media. She delivered the best presentation that I've ever seen. She does this for a living. You know, she works for Vice. She works for the Sunday Times. She came to Malton. She saw this campaign. She saw the potential in this project. She managed to get the sponsor, which is Habito, which is an online mortgage brokers company trying to inspire younger people to take out mortgages and buy and become homeowners, basically. So the 15 grand was offered in terms of a sponsorship deal. How the deal would work is they would give us the money to repair and restore the rest of the ramp free of charge. All they asked was for their name to be mentioned on the half pipe somewhere, which is a pretty simple, straightforward thing, as we were going to put a plaque up of all the volunteers and all the local businesses and local groups like Morton and Norton Lions and, of course, MNAP that have been supporting the project. So it was a no-brainer, really, and that money was there. And she came from London. She came all the way from London to deliver the presentation on the night of the meeting and was shut down and shot down, unfortunately. And and this is where we're at. So I'll leave you to Di, obviously, to come in if she wants to.
I think you should show the presentation to answer the
Yeah,
question.
sure. Let me just get the bearings for a second.
All right.
Okay. I'm not very good at these presentations. Okay, let's go through the slides. So, So obviously this lady here was Christina Watson. As you can see, if any ladies are in the audience tonight, you might remember a magazine called Grazia. She actually started Grazia magazine. She's a very reputable, well-known journalist and reporter. She came across the campaign online and saw the prospects in it. So we're going to run you through the slides, obviously. This was the presentation which was delivered in the council meeting. As you can see, skateboarding just hit the big time, so obviously with the Olympic Games, the big resurgence in the sport. We'll sift through quickly. There's the Olympic emblem. Obviously, Sky Brown, 12 years old, skateboarding made it into the Olympics with Sky and Bombette representing the UK, and the UK has had a chance to come home with gold medals, and their influence on the sport is immense, impactful and wholesome. And who would have thought it? She brought home a bronze medal, which is fantastic. So just to bear in mind for those of you that don't know extreme sports and action sports, these are the statistics. So there is at least 750,000 people actively skateboarding just in the UK. 540,000 in England, and 85% of participants are male and 15% female. The female skateboarding grew by 24% over the last 12 months to approximately 112,000 participants. So there's more girls doing it now than ever. People searching for their closest skate park has increased by 104%, so that's gone up by the maximum statistic there. Sales of skateboards are up 29% on the year. We expect an overall increase in skateboarders in the UK, approximately 10 to 12% since lockdown began, 75,000 to 90,000. And with the Olympics happening, this is set to grow by 17 to 20%. Overall, after Tokyo, and further growth after the Paris Olympics 2024. So here we are, this is Moulton Skate Park. Well, it says Moulton Skate Park, but it's no longer Moulton Skate Park. It's now Norton Skate Park, as Moulton obviously jumped ship. So, rare commodity. Norton has one of the last historic half pipes in the country. With these assets becoming rarer and rarer, the value to the community goes up. And not only the value of the community, but the value of the asset. And I know what that half pipe is worth. So if it was to go missing, there could be a potential that it could have gone to another area. That's all I'm going to say on that front. Commercial partnership. Habitat are a mortgage company. They understand the link between community and home. They have been investing in skateboarding and skate parks for the last 3 years. So a reputable company that is invested in the sport. This year they are sponsoring the skate team, which obviously GB, that represented us in the Olympic Games. Habitat work with Skate GB to build a sustainable future in skating around the country. They are so committed to this sport, they have employed a representative within Skateboarding GB to support local councils and communities on the endeavour of getting skate parks more sustainable. Case studies show Habitat have a proven sponsor who have restored Hackney Bumps, which is a skate park obviously in London, Bournebrook in Birmingham and Skate Southampton. There are plans to add a park in Lewes, Brighton and Hove, and obviously one in Manchester as well. So that's Hackney Bumps. So, how Skateboarding GB work with communities? They identify the asset, which they have done, so we've got the official governing board supporting us with saving the half pipe. Initial investment in the refurbishment, they support with sustainability and help with continued support to get parks grants. Not that we needed it. Value of skate parks in the community. Evidence suggests, 1, it's a tourist attraction. 2, it's a hub entrepreneurship, which basically is, in my opinion, and my experience using the skate park, there's Lucas and Mark here and Eric tonight, who I used to skate with many times, and Jamie obviously. It's a great social thing, you know. Like some of the people that I've met there over the years, it's led to me having a career in what I do now for a living, in art and stuff. So it's a great social hub. And then dependency ratio deficit. Next steps, reassurance to this committee that Habitat would like to donate funds to support phase 2 of the works. This is the first step in supporting key stakeholders in the room. Habitat Skateboarding GB will work with Ryan and the volunteers to support sustainability of the ramp. Thank you. So that was the presentation. You see brainer in chief media. Obviously it was a lot more in depth and more detailed than what I was relating to you, but I just thought you should see that publicly tonight because it was such a great presentation. And obviously we had all angles covered, we had all funding there, and we got shut down unfortunately, which I'm putting it to the council tonight, and hopefully, you know, I'm willing to work with you. I want to work with you, but this could be a real potential to get the whole community behind you. You could unite a community here. You know, we're not just talking Norton and Malton, we're talking Rydale, we're talking beyond Rydale. It's just a no-brainer. There's money on the table, everything's covered, NNAP is supporting it. There's no excuses. Thank you.
Okay, cheers folks. I think we've already started the Q&A. So has anybody else got any questions for Ryan, for Martin, Keel, anybody else? Yeah, back there please.
I'm Dave Nendy, Norton resident. I'd just like to ask why Councillor Hugh Spencer is shaking his head a lot to
Councillor Spencer, do you want
accept tonight.
answer that?
The next council meeting.
Next council meeting, did you hear that?
Next council meeting.
That's
What's the capacity of the council chambers for your next meeting, please?
Capacity for the council meetings. Not sure.
Make it large capacity, make it big.
I'm absolutely sure we could get this building again if we need to.
Okay, excellent.
Just got a question for Ryan. I went to Manchester and I've been down to Luton at their skate parks, right? And they've got a sign with all public liability and all the rest of it. Just wondered how much that might cost, and what's on your sheet? 15 grand on his sheet, saying it's not enough to rescue the pipe, yeah, that it's not enough to cover it. Where would the other funding, if that ain't enough? It is that 150, yeah, cheers. If it ain't that, yeah, where can we get the other money from it, yeah, even though you said you've got other sponsors in the pipeline? Sorry to pick on the spot.
No, that's a great question. Martin will obviously elaborate on the other side of it, but I will come in and obviously mention about the £15,000. That £15,000 would have secured and covered the costs because we had other sponsors involved with this. And I will say, I wasn't going to say it tonight, we had a company called Skatelight. You see, I've been very scared and dubious about mentioning companies because we've had evidence, and I've got it all in facts. Everything I state is, I've got evidence, hard evidence to prove it. These councillors have been badgering companies, which I've been reaching out to, in gains of sponsorship, and people coming forward, offering their time, their services, and everything to make this happen, which I don't think is very fair. That's my opinion. It's not a fact, it's an opinion. But I don't think that's very fair. Reaching out to companies that they know that we're in correspondence with and warning them off the project. I think that is totally wrong.
Is it actually going to cost Norton Town Council a penny?
No,
no
cost.
They've wasted 30 grand on a toilet instead of and another 600. They've got money like that, surely they'll put money into that. Come on.
Can I come back? Can I come back? With the signs of the public liabilities, they've got them in Germany as well, and it doesn't cost them a thing. But
right, okay.
Do you know how much that would cost? Because they can't speak at the moment because one's got his phone with him.
I don't personally.
So I just wondered how much that would cost. You know? Oh, sorry, Di, you've got a tongue in your head, didn't you, darling? All right.
Yeah.
And you're polite, so you can answer. Yeah, nice one. Cheers.
The town council is already on with commissioning signs, so they've been designed and we're just waiting for them to be delivered.
Okay.
So that wouldn't come as part of this cost. The council have accepted that responsibility.
Do you know how often they get cleaned? Because there was kids today when we were down there, you would get film, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, ledge. I just wondered how often it gets cleaned because there were kids picking up cans and bottles and all the rest of it, which were skaters. And I just wondered how often they get a one round. Is it once they go round? Because cleaners are amazing.
The district council litter pick there.
Yeah. Once a day?
And, yeah, on a daily basis.
Right, okay,
really.
cool,
Yeah.
cool, nice one.
You see, that's
Thank
a very
you.
interesting. My apologies. It's a very interesting question regarding the signage and all that, because at the moment the signage is appalling, and there is users of the skate park. I mean, only recently they've only just put up a safety fence, and as Martin rightly as Martin rightly suggested earlier, there's more people killed in road accidents on skateboards than there is actually using skateboard equipment. So my question is really, how come the skate park hasn't had a fence for at least 4 months, and then all this furore around this, they suddenly put one up? It just doesn't add up to me.
Okay, any more questions?
I'd just like to say, finally, I won't say anything else after this, that I'm slightly disappointed that I came here to hear both sides of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. And as always, because bear in mind I've worked 14 years for a council, they will not give you an answer because they have to think about it and plan it ahead. You know, why also do we not have a representative here from Fitzwilliam? Yeah? Now you read that statement out, and to be honest, there was a lot of words in there, and I thought, wait a minute, am I hearing that right? They had no plans for redevelopment. And then you read something about to do with Rydale District Council. I'm sorry, I can't remember, my memory's not that good. I'm just really disappointed that that's your answer. I'm not here to answer questions. Well, why are you even here? Sorry. I actually want to hear another side. I want to hear the councillors that voted no. I want to hear the reasons why. I'm not here to vibe up. I keep saying that word. Bash, councillors over the head. I want to know the reasons why. And if you've got valid reasons, and if, at the end of the day that is Fitzwilliam's land, they own it. But yet, who owns the equipment? Actually, that's a good question. Who owns that? Who's that paid? Who paid for the skate park, by the way? Does anybody know? The equipment.
Rydale District Council initially.
Rydale District. Our money, yeah?
Everybody's asking questions.
I have a question.
Hang on a
Just a quick question. How many followers do you have?
That's a very good question.
On this, because we're on about funding.
Yeah.
And as you've said, you could lose this funding at that.
Yeah.
So how many followers have you got?
All over social media, about 250,000.
Right. So I might be speaking for myself here, but if all your followers donated £1, you've got an awful lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. Can I just come in on that? That isn't like an option. The way I see it is, why should we have to raise the money? The money was there on the table.
So delaying so that you lose all your funding, thinking.
Well, that could be, that's a possibility, and obviously I think the community would bind together now with this if that was the case, but it would be a damn shame if that was the case, that the community had to raise that money when it was there initially from the start. So.
Just to come back to you. So, lady at the back there, got a question for?
So, if they say at their next council meeting, we can go ahead. How long are we looking at? Do we need a cover over the half pipe so we can actually get it done quicker before winter sets in?
So answer the questions, please.
Yeah, so that's a
You're
very.
not answering
Can I
any
just come in on that
questions
question?
at
Sorry.
Finish.
So yeah, at the moment, obviously, we were under the impression that the council, obviously, the toughest part of all of this was getting the permission from the council, which we got, and we got granted to do the first phase, which me and James Lindenberg and Nat Martin and a team of volunteers from Malton and Norton Lions went ahead and we did it. And obviously, we got stuck at stripping the ramp. They initially granted us permission to strip back the ramp and assess it from the top, so we're looking down at the infrastructure of the bare metal frame, which we did. And to be fair, it's not bad. Yeah, there's bits that need work, but we were prepared to do the work. We had everything in place to do it. So at the moment, as it currently stands, yes, it is August, and there's not long left of summer, unfortunately. As you can see tonight, it's raining, and that metal is exposed to rain, and in the winter, it's going to be exposed to adverse weather. So there is going to be damage, and it is going to cause damage, because we were under the impression that this was going to happen and we were going to have it up and running by the end of summer. So yeah, there is an urgency, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because we could have had this done by the end of September, and that's the realism of all of this. It's not delusional, there's no misinformation, that's fact. We had everything in place to make that happen.
So, if we get a yes from them, how long will it take?
How long?
How long will the actual project take?
Yeah, how quick can we get it done so it is protected for winter?
Well, basically, all that needs doing is the team of volunteers to go down. We need to get the ramp sandshotted so it's basically polished and it's in good condition, ready to do 2 coats of hammerite paint, which will protect it from adverse weather. And then all we need to do is make the call to a good friend of mine who owns a very reputable ramp building company called A1 Ramps, who are based in Colchester. And basically, we give them the call. They'll send their team of people. And it could take a week to relay once the money's exchanged hands. So.
How long before the council finally? Yeah, when's the next council meeting?
They don't know.
No.
No.
It's the 3rd Monday in every month.
A couple of weeks then.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a second. Just you want to.
Gentleman was first.
All right, sorry. You got a question?
I don't know how the town council process works, but it seems to me like time's of the essence. At the moment, time's moving on. Can I make a suggestion to the 5 councillors who voted against the half pipe? What if they were to put forward a communication, send out that communication that explains why they made the decision that they have? That perhaps would accelerate things, at least people would know where they're coming from and what the reasoning is behind why they're rejecting it.
Any more questions for anybody else? Oscar?
That's only one. Can the council not?
Hang on a sec. Mark. Just one sec.
I want to know why the woman who made this presentation, but I've looked at it and it's a pretty good presentation. She must have spent some good time on that. How she came all the way from London, which, I don't know, possibly over 100 miles away, came here, worked on it very hard, and then was just shot down by the council. I want to know why they did that.
Councillors? Young man,
Yes, I was at the meeting, of course, and I'm afraid a few of the councillors flounced out, and I was left to apologise to the young lady for the way the meeting had gone. She was a very, very nice young lady. She was actually from Sevenoaks in Kent, not from London. She'd had great difficulty getting here, and she was very, very nice.
Okay, that's the question.
If I may, because I was stood quietly in the back for the entirety of that meeting, including when you were speaking with Christina. And there was an entirely different tone, albeit Christina spoke in a different manner. But this was after various people within the room, and I sat there and watched Ryan with his hand held up for about 20 minutes, and he was dismissed, which, until he eventually, well, various things happened, people got frustrated. Again, going back to what the drum I keep banging, about communication and just everyone rising above what's gone before for everyone's benefit. People didn't flounce out. It's really important to people, as you can probably see and hopefully recognise in this room. And this is just a proportion of the representation. It was one where people got a motive and removed themselves from the situation because they were hitting a brick wall. I was astounded at the way people conducted themselves that evening, and I'm really glad that I was there. It's been misreported in the paper. It was yourself that closed the meeting after you slammed both hands down on the desk. And again, I don't know what's gone before, so I don't know the passions and everything else that have been stirred in the room, but it's not the way to conduct ourselves. We can do better, personally, and as a community, for everyone's benefit. And it was one where Dad just kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and again, she hit a brick wall. So, after members of the community had been thrown out, and various people tried to say their piece at the end, after you close the meeting, i.e., so for everyone else, that's chucking the public out of the meeting, basically. Christina, bless her, she travelled for hours up from London, missed the train to get back home again, because the meeting was prolonged, because, again, we were just kind of going around in circles. Di was frustrated, left the meeting. We shouldn't be in that position. It should never come to that. But all, again, it's just down to communicating, not hearing one another, not just taking a step back and rising above it for the benefit of everyone else. You know, whether it's older generations, younger generations. And that's why I'm pleased that on the whole, tonight's been conducted in, you know, a much better manner. And I get why you might not want to commit to things, but I hope you also appreciate how frustrating that is for everyone in the room and the wider community as well. But at least we've got a date now. There's a bit of a backstop where hopefully, with time, not too much time, we can hopefully kind of progress things for everyone's benefit. But I'm sorry to interject, but I just wanted to highlight where it's easy to misremember things, especially in the heat of the moment. But and I watched you did speak in a much more reasonable manner to Christina, and that's when transferring the lease was bandied about as an option, because she was just desperately trying to keep the project alive, basically. So that's where, again, for people that weren't there or haven't heard reports or everything else about it, it's one where Christina stayed there after various people, you know, after not being heard, well, were chucked out and left. She just kept going and saying, oh, well, what about this? What about that? And her parting comment was, oh, well, I hope you reconsider, which is why we're all here again. Thanks to volunteers' efforts to keep it going, really. But there are other options if it's not something that you're going to do as a town council. But it kind of defeats the object, doesn't it? Because you're here for the community. That's your purpose. Rather than having to set up a separate vehicle to fulfil the same purpose.
Thank you.
Well said.
Just briefly, because I object to the term flounced. I've never flounced in my life, and I certainly didn't have that meeting. I left the meeting because I was ashamed as a councillor on that council of the decision that had been made. And I feel so strongly about this issue, I could not continue the meeting. I've only ever done it twice in my life, but I've never said that I was ashamed to be a member of the council, but I was on that evening, because the conduct of that meeting, the way that meeting was conducted, was appalling. And I'm really pleased, as Jim said, that how well tonight has gone, because people have asked questions in a respectful manner, and it has been much calmer, and I think that's great. And we should take it forward from this, and that at the next town council we should be approaching it in exactly the same way.
Can I just ask you, mention the next council meeting's every third Monday. The next one, is that to do with this half pipe, or is it some other thing? Because I think some of the people here think it's...
We don't have the agenda for it yet.
So it may not be...
Can this be put on the agenda then, please?
Our agenda comes out the Wednesday before.
And how do you get things put on the agenda?
The clerk deals with that.
So can we have any influence on that, so we'd see whether this can be put on the agenda?
You can email the clerk. See what's already on the agenda.
We can, if people want the email address, Councillor, we can do that today. Who's going to say?
Sorry, can I just challenge that, please? Because I think as far as I'm aware, and maybe councillors will be able to put me right if I'm wrong, but the clerk of the council does not run the council. They're employed by the council to do the council's bidding. So surely, as mayor, you have a say and an input into the agenda. What was just being said, it made it out as if the clerk set the agenda and she decides what goes on it. But surely, as mayor and chair of the council, that is your final decision. Please, you could answer that tonight.
We have various things organised. I know for the next council meeting there's a speaker already booked who's said he wants to come to talk about the devolution issue. So if there are any other proposals are put forward, they will go on the agenda.
Right, thank you. So this can go on the agenda
if it's put forward.
Thank you.
If you're the mayor and you can't do anything, why are you on what you're doing the job for?
Yeah.
Why aren't you off? You only run when you keep them off.
I beg your pardon.
You're supposed to be the mayor.
Yes.
If you can't do what these people want in here, or help them, what the hell are you doing the job for?
Because I try to sort of keep an open mind about it.
Well, I heard a rumour, a little rumour, I don't know if it's true or not, that you and your husband didn't want the skate park there, up here. Is that true? Did you vote against it? Are you going to say? I don't think you are.
I think I should probably
Hang on,
leave
folks.
this meeting
Hang on.
if you start getting abusive.
Yeah, let's just
He hasn't
keep
been
it.
abusive, that's the question.
You're not prepared to answer that.
No.
No.
Mark?
You never are.
Can I ask, if we have to wait for the next meeting of the council to have to discuss this, or have the council discuss this agenda, can we not, as a community here, asking the council who actually represent us, to actually call an extraordinary meeting of the council? Because surely this issue is a major issue. You have that authority to be able to convene an ultimate meeting of this council.
There can be an extraordinary meeting, yes.
Okay, and how does he get you to do that then?
I will have to have a word with the clerk and we'll have to organise it.
Okay, so...
Hang on, folks, let Mark speak.
Can I just finish? I am one of the co-signatories that called this meeting in the first place, and I've got no vested interest personally in the skate park. I'm never going to use it in my entire life, as you can tell.
Never say never, man.
But at the end of the day, you can see the passion in this room for something that actually could put Norton on the map here, and I don't understand as a community why you're representing a community when you don't see that passion and you don't share that passion. But obviously we're all here tonight because we want to diffuse that to you, and I'm asking you personally to convene an extraordinary meeting of the council to rediscuss this issue and take on board all of this passion that's coming here tonight.
Can I second that, please?
I believe a councillor can call for an extraordinary meeting with a set number of members supporting, so more than happy to do that.
There you go, Mark.
Actually, can I
Hang on, folks, please let Mike speak.
Sorry, I was just going to clarify that the mayor can call an extraordinary general meeting herself without consulting anybody else.
Thank you.
So does anybody want to ask that?
Excuse me, Mayor, can you please call an extraordinary meeting of your council to rediscuss this issue as put to you by the public who you represent?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
Any more questions, please?
Well done, Matt.
Oh, yeah, sorry, can I just ask one more thing?
Yeah, just,
Can we have this extraordinary meeting before the next town council meeting? Because obviously, you know, if you're going to put it in the agenda, there's no point doing it 6 weeks time.
That's going to depend on the clerk and
Excuse me, sorry, can I just...
Is there a chance of you being able to do that before the next council meeting?
Should be able to do it next week.
Thank you.
Can I just come in on that, because the amount of transparency and correspondence here from the council's point of view has been very, very lax. Not one councillor, apart from the supportive ones such as Di, Sharon and Martin, have actually, and obviously Ian, I think Ian's in the room tonight, have actually reached out to me directly to speak to me about the matter. Not one of them have actually taken that liberty of talking to me one-to-one, directly and appropriately about the matter. They've all gone above my head or underhand and underneath me, which I think is disgusting in my opinion. If they've got an issue, they should speak to people who know what they're talking about. I've used that facility since I was 11 years old. I know the park better than anybody, including the council. So why aren't the people that matter talking to me directly? And why are they going behind my back? That's my question.
Councillor Spencer. No comment from the chair. Any other questions?
Is there any questions from the chair if they've got a voice for the public?
Yeah, would you like to ask us anything as to why we're all here?
Or do you want some more water? Because I only took you one glass of drink waters. Okay. Magic water.
Councillors, have you got any questions you'd like to put to any of the speakers? Any more questions, Mark?
I do have one more question. It's sort of unrelated, but can I ask the chair lady why she originally wasn't going to come to this meeting to chair it today? What about deciding to?
Because the date hadn't been set. I only found out about the date by the notice which was put on the council notice board.
Can I ask you why that's the case then, when the letter went to the council on the date and I got an email with the date set and everything before?
And then I had a notification from the young lady, Rachel, who is acting as secretary.
Right. But you got the notification the same day that I got the notification because it was hand delivered.
That's correct.
Mine was an email. Mine was an email.
Well, mine was an email, but I still got it the same date that you got yours. I'm asking why originally you weren't going to chair this meeting and then why suddenly you decided to go.
Because the date hadn't been set. Nothing had been set.
So the point I'm getting is the date was set because you got the email with the date in because you got the same email.
No, I got an email saying that they had asked for the meeting, but there was no date set at that particular time.
There was a set date put in there.
Correct.
Preliminary.
There was a date, yes, you're right.
I got the same email that you did, so I know exactly what you got.
Because
I was the proposer of the letter that you got. So I know exactly what you got. And I know when you got it, and I know what was in it. And I just wondered why you were originally not going to come to this meeting, and then suddenly you decided you are going to come to this meeting. But then you're not actually going to say anything because you're here.
I
It's just
hadn't
because
said
you
I
came here
wasn't
to show
coming.
face
I
today.
had never said I wasn't coming.
Not the impression I got from the email that I received back from the first response, which was you were not willing to chair the meeting.
Can I just come in on that question? Because there's other citizens of the community that have actually put in for a freedom of information request from Norton Town Council, which they still haven't issued yet. However, Malton Town Council have issued their freedom of information request, and to be honest, some of the things that I've seen is pretty disgraceful. So there's obviously reasons to why we haven't seen Norton Town Council's freedom of information request yet, and hopefully they will see sense and disclose that publicly. Otherwise, they're looking like the villains in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Spencer, would you like to add into the information request? Could I just ask them?
Can I just clarify the Mayor's point about the letter?
Yeah.
The letter was sent out, it didn't have a date in it, and Anne Spencer was copied in on that letter, so she was aware of the intent to hold the meeting.
To hold the meeting?
Yes, that's right. And we didn't, so at that point the Mayor was not invited directly for that meeting date. The clerk was then informed of the meeting date because we didn't want to delay the meeting too far. And Di confirmed the meeting date. The clerk then was responsible for putting it on the website, Norton Town Council website, and into a poster on the notice board. And as every resident and citizen of Norton would have received that notice in the same way, so would council members. When it was brought to our attention that whatever the meeting date was going to be, the Mayor would not wish to preside. That is how we understood it to be. Then we were told that the Mayor had not received an invitation to preside over the meeting. That was on the Radio York interview, at which point I made contact and provided the date because she had then indicated that she would like to. And so just to confirm that it was not originally set in the first.
There was no date set when you
not in the
sent
first
original letter.
No.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I think that clears that up. Any more questions before we move on, please?
Can I just thank all of these people just here, what they call councillors, just with one clap from everyone, just for attending. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Right, we will move on to the motions. In the letter that we sent to the council, we put forward 5 motions. Now, before we vote on those, I'd just like to quickly run through them. So the first motion is that we urge Norton Town Council to seek a way for the half-pipe project to be completed in a timely manner so as not to risk funding and sponsorship of the project, which I think we've covered tonight. You've had some answers and we'd all like it done as quickly as possible. The second motion is we deplore deliberate misrepresentation of the Fitzwilliam Estates position on development. Now you've heard the statement, whether you agree with that or not. The arguments, which is about the Fitzwilliam Estate, are basically a red herring. Number 3, we deplore unrealistic scare tactics over liability and ask for the council to seek independent advice from a jointly agreed expert on these matters with particular expertise on skate park developments. Again, you've heard the speakers talk about the liability, and it is just scare tactics. Motion number 4, we deplore the failure to make all relevant documentation available to all parties, including the public, well in advance of the meeting. And again, this was brought up at the last council meeting about reports, about insurance documents, and lots of other stuff that we could go into. Motion number 5, we deplore blatant predetermination, which is basically some of the council's decision to not vote for phase 2 of this project, and they've already made their minds up. They shut everybody down. They'd shut everybody down. They didn't want to hear our opinions, your opinions at the last meeting, and they'd already made their minds up. So that's motion number 5. So before we vote on these motions, would you like to?
Just got a question, Madam Chair. Are councillors allowed to vote on this as a resident of Norton?
If you're a resident in Norton, you are allowed to vote.
Okay.
I don't know if there are any people here who are not residents in Norton. They shouldn't vote. It is residents of Norton.
Okay, is that clear for everybody? So I'll hand you back to the chair and we can start voting on the motions.
We'll go for motion 1. All those in favour? I want to let the secretary okay.
You might be too young, I'm afraid, but you won't be.
Well done,
48.
It's 18.
48. Is it 4?
Are there any people against the motion? Any abstentions? Is it just one? Have you got that?
I did, yes, I've got 1 abstention, 48-4-0 against, 1 abstention. Can I just ask the top table, are you voting on this as well? Sorry, because I didn't, you are allowed to vote. So 48.
I think,
yeah.
49-50, I didn't count it.
Sorry.
50, sorry. So 54-0 against, 1 abstention.
So, the motion number 2, which is the deliberate misrepresentation of the Fitzwilliam Estates position on the development.
Being used as a reason to.
Yeah. Those in favour?
Question on that, please.
Hang a second.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm not clear what misrepresentation was done of the Fitzwilliam Estates position on development.
No, this is the councillor's misrepresentation using the Fitzwilliam Estate. At the last council meeting,
correct.
Which council it was.
Then what did they say that wasn't correct?
They said that the Fitzwilliam Estate would potentially redevelop the site and discuss the lease where until tonight Fitzroy have not actually said
Anything.
anything about it. So they were using that as a reason.
Okay. It's the one hiding at the back, isn't it?
Councillor
You come up with
Williams, yeah.
Well, I've just read the statement from the Fitzwilliam estate, which they have issued.
They've issued that to clarify the situation, I take it.
They've done
Which is
that,
fine,
yes.
I'm happy.
Yeah, which is kind of the first time that they've done that.
They didn't have anything before to work on.
There's been other discussions, but I don't think there's been nothing official from the estate. So what they're basically saying is, look, you know, the lease has always been a short-term lease. We may redevelop it, we may not, but at the moment, it's staying where it is.
I think that's part of the course as far as
But it's been used by the councillors to say it's a reason for not
Thank you.
going ahead with phase 2.
So can we have those in favour of motion 2?
$50. I think there might be a simpler way of doing this. If the vote's going to be exactly the same for all 5, but that I won't count individually. Okay, so 54.
Is anyone against motion number 2?
1.
1 again. Anyone abstaining?
Okay, folks, number 3.
Motion number 3. All those in favour?
Motion number 3.
Question, please.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this suggests that there are realistic scare tactics. So you're saying you don't like unrealistic scare tactics, but you would accept realistic scare tactics.
Yeah, it's maybe not worthy.
I think all scare tactics.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. Correct. So can we amend that?
So
So we deploy scare tactics, basically.
we're going to blot out the unrealistic.
Yeah, so we deploy scare tactics over liability. Good point.
Very good point.
Can we revote?
Yeah, we're going to vote on that now. Anyway, so
Motion number 3.
change to we deplore scare tactics over liability on behalf of the council, I guess.
Everybody should be putting their hand up to this one.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back there.
In fact, one of the people in front.
Okay. It didn't work. Any abstentions? I take it there was no one against.
No against.
No abstentions. So motion number 4.
I'm going to say.
There's 1 abstention.
No, 1 abstention. Sorry, 1 abstention.
As before. Motion number 4. We deplore the failure to make all relevant documentation available to all parties, including the public, well in advance of the meeting. All those in favour?
Why not? What if I put both shoes on all hands?
Every body part.
I wish you'd can you take me seriously, please?
I believe that's 50, but
50
can we go
again,
for the against and abstain to give us an idea?
I am, because I don't actually know that's
Two abstentions, 0 against. So that's take that to 49-4 then. Is that right? Yeah.
And motion number 5, we deplore blatant predetermination. All those in favour?
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
I think I understand what this says, but in actual fact, it's impossible to say what you're saying. You deplore predetermination. How do you know that somebody is predetermined or determined? I think what you're trying to say is you wanted an open willingness to engage in the issues, but the way it's worded is actually impossible to verify.
I think it's just the opinions of the signatories of the letter and probably of the wider community. So it's an opinion, it's a motion.
So what
So
was
those in favour?
your answer there, sorry. I don't know.
For me? Yeah, go on, sorry.
But I didn't hear your answer to that.
I suppose it's as a signatory of the letter and putting these motions forward. It's our opinion is that there has been blatant predetermination in the decisions made by the councillors, which I say is pretty crystal clear.
As somebody who signed the letter, and I was at the meeting, and I do take your point. I think it's a point well made, but I think for those of us that were there that signed the letter, I think it's just so obvious that some people had already made the decision that that's why they wanted to write that. But I do take your point on that.
Thank you for that, because I could be predetermined to vote in favour of it. But this is actually arguing against those who are predetermined to vote against it.
Yeah, does it make sense what we've said to cover that?
No, I don't think it does.
Okay.
A predetermination before the decision. If I have the decision I'm going to vote for this, you're actually against that.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, can we change it? Can we change the motion?
I think what you're trying to say, you want to encourage an open debate.
Basically, what happened at the last meeting was one of the councillors who sat down at the front, he already had a pre-orchestrated speech, which he disclosed in the speech that he was already going to vote against it. So I think what Mark's trying to say is that basically there needs to be more open-mindedness in regards to the debate.
Like you said. So it's kind of the opinion of the
I think we're being
signatories.
open-minded tonight by listening to everyone.
Well, I don't think you'd be happy if no one's answering any questions.
Exactly.
And the email that our email,
Maybe it could be rephrased.
you said the councils were
to enter the debate open-minded.
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
go on then, change it to that.
Because that works for both parties. It works for those who might be in favour of it and want to change their mind.
Once we're on this debate of the whole open-mindedness regarding the vote, I must say that in regards to the rest of the campaign, obviously with funding now, it's very tough to determine and say that funding will come back. I cannot guarantee that funding pot will come back, unfortunately. That funding pot was there at the time of the vote. They voted against that. Yes, we can keep doing meetings, we can keep having these debates, but whether the money is going to come back, it's not up to me to decide, unfortunately. And I cannot make that happen. I've done everything. I've gone above and beyond. I've put my heart, body and soul into this. It's affected my mental health. It's affected my family time, because I feel that strongly, that passionately about the skate park and the half pipe. It means everything to me, and it will mean everything to this. What's your name, Oscar? There's children younger than Oscar that want to use them facilities. So my question is now really, and I'm putting it out there to you tonight, it is basically, they had an opportunity of taking a cost-free option, which myself and the team here tonight put on the table. Now, going forward in the future, that might not happen. So basically, they've turned down a cost-effective, free renovation of a ramp, which I cannot guarantee the rest of it will be free. So therefore, it's going to cost them money now, because the whole community want this to happen. So they've blown an opportunity of free funding and free money.
Okay, Mark, so the suggestion from the floor is that number 5, for clarity, is changed to We encourage the council to enter all debates open-mindedly.
Yeah.
Is
Sounds
that
fair?
correct?
That's fair, yeah, I agree.
Okay, can we vote?
I'm voting.
You're going to vote? Right, I think that's the question.
Those in favour then?
Yes, my other hand works.
Anyone against?
I'm not getting anything else out.
None against.
Any abstentions?
Abstentions?
No abstentions.
The question.
It's,
May I just, as an old fart, and I won't use the skate park unless I come down on my mountain bike, but I would like to offer a vote of thanks, which I think the majority will agree with, to Ryan and the councillors that supported this scheme, because our youth, all right, there's the health and safety. So if they go up the bloody ramp and they fall off and they get bruised, well, they learn. Don't do that again. Don't they? Yes. So I propose a vote of thanks for Ryan and his team.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So the next steps, what's going to happen next? So the recording, the minutes of the meeting will be presented to the council. We hope, you've heard it today, that there will be a meeting set up as quickly as possible to discuss this further. What's that? I'm going to say just 1 second. So we've got a record of motions here, which I would ask Councillor Spencer to sign off tonight, which can be presented to the council with the video, with the recording, with the minutes, and then we look forward to having a meeting organised as soon as possible.
An extraordinary meeting.
Extraordinary meeting. Thank you. So I will present them to you. Yes, sir, there's a question?
Yeah, just when you said earlier at the beginning about it being recorded,
yeah,
who's recording the meeting? What's
the minutes? Rachel's taking the minutes.
Right.
It's been filmed, audio.
I'm just interested to know, there's a gentleman up front who spent most of the night on his phone. Is he recording this as well?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Possibly.
And audio.
Why is that? Why is that? Because we thought he was recording it with the camera.
It's a public meeting. As far as I know, anybody can record a public meeting.
That's fine, okay.
It's a good question, though. Good question.
Yeah, definitely a good question, but like I said at the beginning, I mean, by rights we don't have to ask anybody whether they accept or want to be filmed or not, but it's just polite to do that. Yeah, fair point. Another question there?
Can I just ask, on this next meeting that you arranged for us, will you be answering questions? Or is it still going to be?
If it's a full council meeting, yes, we should be able to answer questions.
So can you make sure it is a full council meeting?
If it's an extraordinary council meeting, councillors will answer questions.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
All right, I think this will bring this meeting to a close. Before we do, I'd like to thank Councillor Spencer for attending, for chairing this meeting for us. I'd like to thank Martin and Ryan and his team for everything they've done. I'd like to thank councillors for attending the meeting and all the hard work they've put in. Massive thanks to Mitchell Henley for all the hard work. Thank you to the film crew for putting all this together.
Well done.
And the biggest thank you, obviously, is to all of you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Right, close the meeting.